Lieutenant ignores protocol during inspection. Commander's response is unexpected. Lieutenant Sarah Kim breaks formation and walks directly toward the injured soldier lying on the ground. The annual readiness inspection is in full swing, with 300 personnel standing at perfect attention while the visiting general reviews their ranks. But Private Martinez has just collapsed from heat exhaustion, and nobody is moving to help him. Lieutenant Kim, return to position, hisses Captain Wilson from the corner of his mouth. Sarah ignores the order and kneels beside Martinez, checking his pulse and loosening his collar. Before continuing the story, let us know in the comments what city are you watching this story from. General Thompson stops his inspection mid-stride and turns toward the disturbance. The entire formation watches as Sarah helps Martinez sit up and signals for the medic who's standing frozen at the edge of the formation. "What's the situation, Lieutenant?" the general asks, his voice cutting across the silent parade ground. Sarah looks up from Martinez without standing. "Sir, Private Martinez is suffering from heat exhaustion. He needs immediate medical attention and fluids." The general glances at the base commander, Colonel Hayes, whose face has turned red with embarrassment. Breaking formation during an inspection is a serious breach of protocol, especially in front of a visiting general. "Lieutenant, you were ordered to maintain position," Colonel Hayes says through gritted teeth. "Yes, sir, but this soldier needed help." The medic finally reaches them and begins checking Martinez's vital signs. Sarah remains kneeling beside the private, providing shade with her body while the medic works. General Thompson walks closer, studying the scene. The formation remains at attention, but every soldier is watching this confrontation between protocol and human decency. "Lieutenant Kim, how long have you been in the Army?" 14 months, sir." "And in those 14 months, what have you learned about following orders?" Sarah meets the general's gaze directly. "I've learned that taking care of soldiers is more important than following rules, sir." A murmur ripples through the formation. Officers don't talk to generals that way, especially not junior officers with barely a year of service. Colonel Hayes steps forward, clearly preparing to discipline Sarah in front of everyone. But General Thompson raises a hand to stop him. "Continue your inspection, Colonel. I want to speak with Lieutenant Kim privately." For 6 months, Lieutenant Sarah Kim has been the officer her superiors wish would just blend in and follow orders without question. Fresh out of West Point with strong opinions about leadership and soldier welfare, she's already earned a reputation for putting her soldiers' needs ahead of military courtesy. Last month, she challenged a training schedule that didn't allow adequate rest between exercises. The month before, she questioned a deployment timeline that seemed rushed and poorly planned. Her efficiency reports describe her as technically competent but lacking in military bearing. What those reports don't mention is that Sarah's soldiers would follow her anywhere. They know she'll fight for them, protect them, and never ask them to do something she wouldn't do herself. But fighting for soldiers sometimes means fighting with superiors, and Sarah's willingness to speak up has put her on thin ice with the command structure. The medic helps Martinez to his feet and escorts him toward the aid station. Sarah watches them go, satisfied that the private is getting proper care. General Thompson dismisses the formation and asks Sarah to join him in Colonel Hayes' office. The walk across the base is silent and tense. Sarah knows her career might be over before it really started. In the office, General Thompson takes a seat behind the colonel's desk, while Sarah stands at attention. "At ease, Lieutenant. Sit down." Sarah takes the chair across from him, unsure what to expect. "Tell me about Private Martinez." "Sir? What do you know about him? His background, his performance, his situation?" Sarah considers the question. "Private Martinez is 20 years old, from Phoenix. He's a good soldier, reliable, hardworking, never complains. He's been having some personal problems lately. His mother is sick, and he's been sending most of his pay home to help with medical bills." "How do you know all that?" "I make it my business to know my soldiers, sir." "And today? Why do you think he collapsed?" "He's been working extra shifts to earn more money for his family. Probably hasn't been eating or sleeping enough. The heat and stress caught up with him." General Thompson nods and makes a note in his notebook. "Lieutenant, do you understand why military protocol exists?" "Yes, sir. To maintain order, discipline, and unit cohesion." "And do you think those things are important?" "Absolutely, sir. But not more important than taking care of soldiers. The general leans back in his chair. Explain that. Sarah chooses her words carefully. Sir, protocol serves a purpose, but it's not an end in itself. The purpose of military discipline is to create effective units that can accomplish their mission. But if following protocol means ignoring a soldier in distress, then protocol is working against its own purpose. Some would argue that breaking formation during an inspection shows weakness and undermines military authority. Sir, I think leaving a soldier on the ground while we worry about appearances shows weakness. What kind of leaders would we be if we prioritized looking good over doing good? General Thompson is quiet for several minutes, writing in his notebook and studying Sarah's personnel file. Lieutenant, I've been in the Army for 32 years. I've seen a lot of officers come and go. Some follow orders perfectly, but never learn to think for themselves. Others think for themselves but can't work within the system. He closes the file and looks at Sarah directly. Very few officers can do both. Very few can follow orders when appropriate and break them when necessary. Sarah isn't sure if that's a compliment or criticism. What you did today required moral courage. You knew you'd face consequences for breaking protocol, but you did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. Yes, sir. But moral courage without judgment is just recklessness. Tell me, if Private Martinez had just been tired instead of suffering heat exhaustion, would you have broken formation? Sarah thinks about this. No, sir. Being tired isn't a medical emergency. And if there had been a medic already attending to him? No, sir. My intervention wouldn't have been necessary. So you assessed the situation, determined that immediate action was required, and made the decision to prioritize soldier welfare over protocol? Yes, sir. General Thompson reopens her file and reads through several pages. Your superiors describe you as having leadership potential, but requiring better discipline. Do you agree with that assessment? Sir, I think discipline should serve leadership, not the other way around. Explain. A disciplined unit follows orders effectively, but a well-led unit knows when to follow orders and when to adapt to changing circumstances. Good leaders teach their soldiers to think, not just obey. The general makes more notes, then sets down his pen. Lieutenant Kim, I'm going to make some recommendations about your career path. Sarah braces herself for the worst. First, you're going to attend the advanced officer course 6 months early. You need more training in military law, ethics, and decision-making under pressure. Sarah blinks in surprise. Early selection for advanced training is usually a reward, not a punishment. Second, after you complete that course, you're being assigned to my staff as a junior aide. You'll work directly for me, helping to evaluate training programs and leadership development across multiple installations. Sir, I don't understand. Lieutenant, the Army needs officers who can think critically and act decisively. Officers who care more about mission success than personal advancement. Officers who will protect their soldiers even when it's inconvenient. He stands up and extends his hand. What you did today wasn't insubordination. It was leadership. The kind of leadership we need more of. Sarah shakes his hand, still processing what's happening. Sir, Colonel Hayes isn't going to be happy about this. Colonel Hayes is a good officer, but he's forgotten that rules exist to help us accomplish our mission, not to replace our judgment. Maybe working with you will remind him of that. General Thompson gathers his papers and heads toward the door. One more thing, Lieutenant. How is Private Martinez doing? The medic says he'll be fine, sir. Dehydration and exhaustion, but nothing serious. He should be back to duty tomorrow. Good. Make sure he gets the time off he needs to recover properly. And see if we can do something about his family situation, maybe emergency leave or financial assistance. Yes, sir. That's what taking care of soldiers really means, Lieutenant. Not just the dramatic moments when someone collapses, but the everyday work of making sure your people have what they need to succeed. After the general leaves, Sarah sits alone in the office for a few minutes, trying to understand what just happened. She'd expected disciplinary action, maybe even a formal reprimand. Instead, she's been selected for advanced training and a prestigious assignment. Colonel Hayes enters the office, his expression unreadable. Lieutenant, that was quite a conversation. Yes, sir. The general asked me to apologize to you. He said I was so focused on looking good during the inspection that I forgot about taking care of soldiers. Sarah doesn't know how to respond to that. He's right, of course. We were all standing there watching Martinez struggle, but none of us moved to help him. We were more worried about protocol than about our people. Colonel Hayes sits down heavily in his chair. You know what's funny? I've been telling my officers for years that soldiers come first. But when it mattered, when there was actually a choice between following rules and helping a soldier, I chose the rules. Sir, you were trying to maintain good order during an important inspection. No, Lieutenant. I was trying to avoid looking bad in front of a general. There's a difference. He pulls out Sarah's personnel file and begins writing. I'm changing your efficiency report. Instead of lacking in military bearing, I'm writing, demonstrates moral courage and sound judgment under pressure. Sir, you don't need to do that. Yes, I do, because it's the truth, and because other officers need to see that we reward people who do the right thing, even when it's difficult. 6 months later, Lieutenant Sarah Kim reports to General Thompson's headquarters as a newly promoted first lieutenant. Her job is to travel to different military installations, observe training exercises, and identify leaders who show the kind of moral courage and practical judgment the Army needs. On her first assignment, she watches a young sergeant break protocol to help a struggling soldier during a fitness test. The sergeant's superiors are angry about the breach of procedure, but Sarah sees something different. She sees a leader who understands that rules serve people, not the other way around. In her report to General Thompson, Sarah writes, Sergeant Johnson demonstrates the kind of leadership we need to develop. He prioritizes mission accomplishment and soldier welfare over rigid adherence to protocol. Recommend him for accelerated promotion and leadership training. Some lessons are learned in classrooms and textbooks. Others are learned by watching leaders make difficult choices in difficult moments. Sarah Kim learned that true military discipline isn't about blind obedience. It's about having the judgment to know when to follow orders and when to follow conscience. And sometimes, the most disciplined thing you can do is break the rules.